Well, hello, grandbabies. As you can tell, I got the gloves out and we're going to do a little bit of potting today. I went out and purchased a couple of things that we need generally for the house and the plants and things like that we have to have. We've got some citronella today that we're going to be planting in one of these pots. Haven't decided where they're going yet. I've got some basil. This is just sweet basil. These are bonnie plants. They just happen to be for the local plants that are sold around here. And I got a lemon thyme that we're going to be planting because these herbs I dry out personally for the kitchen in my dehydrator, and sometimes I'll take them, depending upon what they are, and run them through a grinder or just through the dehydrator and just crush them with my hands for use later. But I have found that making my own herbs is super nice, given the fact that I'm cutting out sodium and all forms of salt that I can out of the diet. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and move on then. I think we're going to start with our citronella, and I think I'm going to go ahead. This is my first time planting citronella, so if you guys know anything or give me advice on it, let me know. But I wonder how big it'll get. So let's take a look. 24 to 36 inches. So I'd say this is probably the perfect pot for this one. So we'll go ahead and put this citronella in here. First thing I'm going to have to do is put some soil in my bucket, which is empty. My planter is empty. And today I'm using my little trowel here. This is just a Fisker's trowel. And I love this thing. I've had it for a long time. Fisker's just happens to be the one I found, and currently not sponsored. Hopefully, maybe one day, but not sponsored by Fisker's. They have a couple of tools that I use routinely. This is just one of them. The other one I use on the routine, I'll show you in just a moment. It's probably my favorite of all the tools that I have because it's got a serrated edge on one side and a flat edge on the other, which allows me to cut through roots. It cuts through bags. I have no trouble whatsoever cutting into anything with that particular tool. So now we got enough soil in this, and the soil that I'm using just happened to be what was on sale at the local garden shop. It's this particular round is Miracle Grow's potting mix. They had a good deal on it, so I went ahead and got a couple of bags. And I'm just going to kind of like move this around a little bit, kind of work it up the sides, because I don't necessarily want that citronella plant to sit real deep. It looks like I'm going to need another scoop or two put in there. And this looks pretty good, this soil mix does. It looks like it'll drain well. I have to admit, the last couple of years I haven't been buying Miracle Grow products, but I think that might have had something to do with supply and demand. So anyway, I think that's probably a pretty good depth for our plant. Now I like to give just a little shot of water when I'm planting on that fresh dirt. And then I'll set the new plant down in that. Now these are root bound a bit. And if you notice, it's kind of dry. The soil is pretty dry at the top, so we are definitely going to have to water this down. I'm going to break up these roots a little bit. Try not to traumatize them too awful bad. Okay, we're going to set that down in there, and I'm going to push these walls up that I built around the pot, around the plant, to help hold it in place. Now I am going to need to add some soil to that. Okay, so now we'll just throw in a couple of handfuls. Don't need a whole lot. And I'm doing most of this here at my picnic table. And if you look behind me is my greenhouse. We just built it last year, and it's actually built out of a dog run, a former dog run. So my husband and I, we tend to like to upcycle if we can, or recycle things if we can. So it was a really good little idea. It gave me a nice place to put my gardening items, and he was very happy to get his stuff back, or I should say my stuff, out of his garage. So there's a huge plus in that, ladies, in case you want your own little place. Find somebody getting rid of a dog run they don't need anymore and put that thing to use. All right, so that looks pretty good. We're gonna give it another good shot of water. Remember, this thing was pretty dry. We're gonna let that sit for a minute or so. Let that kind of work down into that soil. And give that a minute. And while that's doing that, let's get rid of the cup here. Let me find the tag again. I keep all the tags with my plants. And I like to set them right on the edge of the pot. Easy find in case the plant gets so large that you lose track of what you have. And I tend to forget sometimes what these plants really are. Okay, so while that one's sitting, we'll go ahead and grab our next pot. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and put the lemon thyme in this pot. So let's grab some soil, throw that in here. Normally my herbs are done in my garden bed, but this year I've decided I don't want to do that. I want to keep my garden bed for veggies and things. Now I will be interplanting some basil with my tomatoes and a couple of other herbs. All right, that looks pretty good as far as our soil goes. Let's brace it up the walls a bit. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. We're gonna add a little more. There we go, there's a nice good sized scoop. We'll go ahead and scrape this back a bit. All right, that looks pretty good. Now we're gonna put a little splash of water in there. Get that all good and wetted up. Okay, now the lemon thyme. It is one of the herbs that I have been told is absolutely fantastic on fish, chicken, pork. And given that we're trying to cut out certain things out of our diets now, I've been really trying to expand. So I'm really hoping that this herb is as good as everybody says. So I will definitely get back to you on that one. The sodium thing has happened to me for a long time, so I've tried to do low sodium most of my life, but for the many of us, it's in everything. It's everywhere. You can't get away from the sodium, so you do everything you can. One of my favorite things to have is ranch dressing, which is absolutely delicious. But like the ranch seasoning, I can't have it when I buy it over the counter from the store because it is so salty, so high in sodium. So I want to make my own. So the plan is to have all the herbs that are required here to make my own ranch seasoning without the salt. I've also been noticing people use a lot of pink salts and ocean salt, sea salts. I guess they're specialty salts for anything you want. But I have to say that for me, I'm a little leery of those because like I am old school, I am Gen X, and we grew up being told you have to have iodine, so you have to have a certain amount of salt in your diet because they have iodine in them. So, but I don't seem to hear anything about that these days. So do we not need iodine anymore? Let me know, guys. Well, anyway, there's this one. She looks pretty good now, so we'll go ahead and water her in. Give her a good drink. And then we did that. We'll go ahead and give this citronella another drink that we just planted a moment ago. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so now we'll just put our tag back in next to the edge of the pot. And we'll slide this pot out of the way. So the last plant that I have for today to plant in its pot will be basil. I'm not sure about anybody else, but I am a basil nut. I love it. Basil and tomato soup is probably one of my favorite go-to quick dinners, or you know, with a grilled cheese or a sandwich of some type. Perfectly awesome dinner. So we'll go ahead and put some soil in this pot. I know I could have saved a little time and had all these pre-ready, but I wanted to go through all the motions so you can see that none of this is hard. It's a little bit dirty, as you can tell. My picnic table's a mess now, but it ain't too bad. I'll clean it up. I'll put a little more soil in that. This pot is a little deeper than I thought it was. But the basil, back to the basil. So, not only do I dehydrate a lot of my herbs and grind them myself, a lot of times I'll take basil and thyme and some sage, and I will cut those up fresh, and I will put them into like an olive oil suspension. A lot of people, you'll see that. And I like to freeze them in ice cube trays. So it's rapid use for a quick seasoning for whatever you might be fixing. Okay, we'll go ahead and give this a little wet down. That looks pretty good. Now this basil, he does look pretty rough, but he's dry like the others. I got them yesterday, so I was a little surprised to see them so dry today. But we'll go ahead and get them taken care of, and they'll be perked up and happy in the next day or two. So let's go ahead and loosen this up a bit and set her down in there. Okay, now this one's not sitting quite level, so I need to dig it out just a little bit so she sits a little deeper. There we go. All right, that's better. So kind of work that soil around her. Put her tag at the end of the pot, at the edge of the pot. Now we're going to add some more dirt. And like I said, I'm using the Miracle-Gro potting soil mix this round. They were a good price and on sale, and I have a lot of pots that, to be honest, I haven't bothered with in years. So I am now trying very hard to get myself back into doing things, stuff that has been sitting around for a while, just waiting on me to get busy. So, okay, so our basil looks pretty good. Planted nice, solidly, a little push down there to get everything nice and in there. Okay, it looks pretty good. Now we'll give her water. Oh yeah, she'll probably perk up in the next few minutes with that drink. Okay, so the tool that I was talking about is one like this. It's got a serrated edge here. It will cut through a bag like this potting soil mix in no time. It's got a smooth edge, which I like to use on cutting roots when I've got deep weeds and things like that. I'm trying to pull out a little tip here on the end for doing the little slight pry for some of those deeper weeds that you may run across. And you'll find that I've got a lot of rust, a lot of use on this tool right here. I've had this one for a long time. So, but anyway, this one I definitely recommend. This is another Fiskars product, and as I said, I am not sponsored by Fiskars. It just happens to be the one that I happen to own. Okay, everybody. Well, grandbabies, I hope you enjoyed today's little potting adventure. I've got several more to do, but don't think I'll be doing them today. It's time to get dinner made. So anyway, guys, you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Granny X.